if you've got another Parlux, you're going to notice straight off the bat that the design is not like a huge leap forward. Again, it's like a subtle evolution from the last one. So you can see it's not like a huge evolution. There's actually one in between, one model in between. So you had the Parlux 385 light, then you had the Parlux Advanced light, and now you've got the Parlux Alyon. There's not a great deal of difference in terms of like the industrial design. The handle is a bit more ergonomic on the Alyon, and they kind of went with it with the more ergonomic handle on the Advanced. I've got the Advances at work at the moment. I use this one for home, Advanced for work. This one's going to be getting grilled over the next few days in both places. Yeah, but say in terms of the kind of industrial design, not a great deal different. I think this was the last model with the snap-on nozzles that just snapped on and off like that. And then with the Advanced, they brought this one in. And it looks like they've kept it. Some people don't like this because it's a bit of a struggle to get the nozzles on and off. But I mean, it means they're not going to fall off. I think the reason they went with that is because the shell is heat resistant and they've taken the shell right up to the nozzle, whereas before it only sort of went up to, I mean, it went up to the nozzle, but it didn't like cover it. So I think that's probably why they've gone with this, so that they can keep the heat resistant shell right up to the nozzle so that you can hold, if you're not a handle holder, see I'm a handle holder with my hairdryers, I dry the handle, but I sort of dry that sometimes, say plenty of people dry with the shell. So, you know, it would be good for those. Yeah, otherwise, say it's not hugely forward. The handle is much more ergonomic on the new one. You got the same Parlux buttons, that switches that they've always had, which is good, because if they change those, I'd be really sad, because they're one of the main selling points. But yeah, I'm going to go into more of the detail in the actual review. This is just really an overview. The Cool Shot button, that's sort of they've taken that from evolved that from the Advanced as well. Whereas this one's just kind of sticky red button or whatever. They kind of set, on the Advanced, they set it into the handle a little bit more, made it a bit more ergonomic, and it looks like they've gone the same with this one, which is nice. Yeah, otherwise, it's not great leaps. Now, it's lighter, apparently it's more powerful, so this one's 2,250 watts, and then you had the Advanced, which was 2,200 watts, so this one's a little bit more powerful. At the same time, I think it's 5 grams lighter than the Advanced, so that's bonkers. In my hand now, I can just tell it's, you know, it feels like a Parlux. It's just really well balanced, really lightweight. You know, as a professional using these day in, day out, it's really important to get one that's comfortable, and Parlux is, I mean, that's why I use them. They're just super sort of balance and weight. Yeah, otherwise the design's not so different. Again, it's mostly under the hood. One of the new things on this, I don't know if it works, we'll talk about it more in the review, but you've always been able to unscrew the back bit there to clean it. But with this one, it comes with this thing, they call it a HFS, right, which is the hair-free system. And basically it's this little coil. Now, I've seen these before in plugs, never seen one in a hairdryer before. But basically, it catches the hair on there so that you don't get it in the internals of the dryer, and then all you've got to do is basically like pop it out, pull the hair off, bin it, and then pop it back, and you're stopping all the hair getting inside, which is nice because it's not going to smell like burning hair, hopefully, which sometimes happens if you get like a couple of strands of hair in there and it starts to pong it up a bit. But yeah, otherwise, say industrial design wise, it's not changed a great deal from, it changed a little bit from the 385. If you've got the Advanced, it's not changed a great deal. Got this, apparently this is a new hanger. I'm not really sure where they get that from, because this one had a hanger as well. It wasn't quite as fancy, but I mean, it's definitely fancier, but it's not really new. But anyway, small detail. Yeah, otherwise, that's pretty much it. That's what it looks like. I'm going to be taking it to work with me over the next week, and I'm going to grill the hell out of it. I'm going to use it every day on all my clients and give it a good run for its money and see how good it is. And then I'm going to make the second half of this video, and that'll be the review proper, and I'll talk more about the ins and outs of the Parlux Alyon and let you guys know what I think of it. Okay, so I've had about 5 days like working professionally with the Parlux Alyon now. So what do I think of it? First impressions were it was pretty good. Straight off the bat, I really enjoyed it. It's really light, it's really well balanced, same as all Parluxes. Handle was definitely more ergonomic than the old Parluxes, so I enjoyed that. One thing that I did notice is it's got this little ridge around here, and I think it's made for the cool shot button, but it kind of, and obviously when you're holding it in the handle, it's your hand just sits nice and in there, and obviously, I mean, the balance, I mean, I'm not holding that, it's just Parlux, they're just so lightweight and balanced so well. But sort of, you know, before I veer too far off topic, this little ridge, I don't know, as a side effect of that, if you're a shell dryer, so I use the handle, like I say, like I tend to use the handle, the ridge makes the handle just sit nicely in the hand straight away. But what else it does is, you know, a lot of people dry with the shell like that, and you don't see much attention paid to sort of the ergonomics of that. But the ridge kind of has a secondary effect there of also allowing you to kind of dry with the shell, and with the same sort of ridge, you can use the ridge for the same difference. So it's really comfy. And so I think it's probably a side effect of them making the handle ergonomic this way, and to reach the cool shot button. But it works really nicely, and you know, like, because I occasionally dry with like holding the dryer like this, not that often, but occasionally. People that do are going to find this so comfy, it just sits in your hand real nice. So, you know, there's something that I just noticed, just a little thing. But yeah, otherwise the handle's really nice. The switches, just the same, still love them. They're just in a position where you can reach them easily, but at the same time, you're not going to knock on with your hand. It's almost impossible, which is, you know, why I love Parlux switches so much. The HFS, the hair-free system, didn't really have much call for it. I only used it for 5 days, so you know, I think it'd probably take a little bit longer to get hair build up on it than that. But you know, it's there. I probably will use it in the long run, but say in 5 days, I didn't have much call for it. Yeah, other than that, it's fairly quiet. The melody silencer, if you've got an old melody silencer, it fits the new one just fine. I'll give you a little blast. It's difficult to kind of, I mean, yeah, this kind of shows how loud it is as well. So it's a hairdryer, so it's going to make noise. It's not too bad. And stick the melody silencer on, and the melody silencer always works really well on the low setting. On the high setting, yeah, it works alright. You know, so that's the differences with the melody silencer. I say it still works, still fits, just the same. But overall, I think that it's not really quiet. It's like hairdryer is a hairdryer. It's going to make noise, but it sort of hums rather than whines, if that makes any sense. So it's slightly easier to talk over, and it's not quite so grating. So yeah, it's pretty quiet. So I don't know if that's because of the new motor inside or because they've improved the silencer, but I found it to be quite comfortable to talk over. I haven't actually been using the melody silencer. It's been at home on my 385, wherever that is. I've just been using it naked, raw, as it was. And yeah, it's been totally fine. That's all right. In terms of the results you get with it, it's quite hard to describe. A hairdryer is a hairdryer in a lot of ways. So you sort of say, well, you know, what makes a good hairdryer, what makes a bad hairdryer. But you know, if you've got a good hairdryer, it just gives you that time to work the hair with the brush in as minimal time as possible, I suppose, is what you're looking for in a good hairdryer. You know, so that you've got the time to work the hair with the brush, but at the same time, you're not just spending like overly hours over and over just going over the same piece of hair, because that's going to be rubbish. And at the same time, you want to look at the texture as well, which is to say it's quite difficult to describe because it's quite a tactile and kind of organic thing that you kind of get used to. Obviously, if you're not professional, you're dealing with your own hair day in, day out, so you know what's good and what's bad. But as a guy, you know, that perhaps doesn't do that, it takes time to develop that eye for like a nice blow dry, really, or, you know, nicely finished and set hairstyle. But I would say, to cut to the chase, using this, it dried it really quickly, so it's really powerful. It dried really quickly, but at the same time, you know, it was really smooth, really creamy texture. It had that kind of like creaminess to it, that frothiness without any, and smoothness without any sort of flyaways and static. So yeah, absolutely top marks. And I say it dried really quickly, especially when you're dealing with a client and you've got to get them in and out of. If you've got really long hair, or to put those two together, if you're dealing with a client with really long hair, you know, that's where a good hairdryer is really going to save you money, and well, time is money. So, you know, you can still sort of dry that long hair well and do a good job, but in half the amount of time, or, you know, a fraction amount of time with a good hairdryer. And yeah, Parlux, the Alyon, loved it. Didn't let me down once. So yeah, I found like in practice it just worked really well. Got really nice results, really smooth, really nice textures. Yeah, perfect really. It's just what I was expecting from a Parlux, or just was hoping, I should say, from a Parlux. Gave me what I wanted. Let's talk about price. Yes, it's quite expensive. It's £130 retails in UK, so it's probably about the same everywhere. It's a fair investment. If you're a professional, I don't think it's expensive. I think you should go for it. If you're, you know, thinking about maybe upgrading your kit, go for it. You can pay it off in 1 or 2 haircuts, and it's going to save you a lot of time and a lot of pain. And if you're looking to get, you know, a real top tier dryer, I would not recommend anything other than a Parlux. You know, yes, if you're a professional and you're thinking, should I, shouldn't I? Basically, it comes down to the fact you're offering a service and you should be offering the best you can. Part of that's using the best tools you can afford. And as a hairdryer, as a hairstylist, you can afford £130 on a hairdryer. Yeah, you know, you could blow dry hair. Just sort of looking like that. You could blow dry hair with a cheap hairdryer. I'm sure I could cut hair with a pair of hedge trimmers. It ain't going to look good. Or it's not going to look as good as it could. So, you know, use the best you can, and the best you can, in my opinion, is Parlux. So that's what I'm going to say if you're a professional. If you're a consumer, which is probably more likely people that are going to be watching this video, do I still recommend it? Yes. I think nowadays, I sort of mentioned it in the Parlux Advanced review that I did before, that, you know, you've got GHD that sort of have that kind of prosumer vibe of kind of selling expensive products to a consumer market, you know, pretty expensive professional products in the consumer market. And I feel like Parlux are kind of trying to move into that space with the new packaging and stuff, because in their old packaging, they used to sort of more or less only sell within the industry, I think, really. And their old packaging was always real kind of bland, but now the packaging's like real suave. I feel like they're kind of trying to step into that area. Good luck to them. You know, why not? So yeah, if you are looking to buy a dryer that, you know, if you're sort of sick of buying like cheap dryers and you just want to get a dryer that you know is going to work for a considerable amount of time, then yes, I would recommend it. Go for it. Say probably your 2 options if you are thinking are really a Parlux or a GHD. GHD Air, it's a good dryer, don't get me wrong. I've used them. I've got colleagues that use them. I know they use them at Sassoon academies, things like that. I just don't see personally why you would buy one over a Parlux when they both sit in the same price bracket, and a Parlux is smaller, lighter, more better balanced, and does a better job, to be honest, to be quite frank. Although that's more down to the fact that it's smaller and lighter and easier to use and easier to manoeuvre than a GHD Air, which is quite a tank. So yeah, I would definitely recommend it, and I still would say GHD Air, good dryer, don't get me wrong. Don't want to rag on it too hard, it is a good dryer. I just don't think it's as good as Parlux. So sort of moving past that, basically, do I recommend it? Yes. Especially if you've got long hair and you're finding blow dries are either taking you too long, or you're getting kind of flyaways and static and things like that, then I would certainly recommend it, because it's going to help you out in just about all those areas, because you're not going to be spending ages kind of overworking and over drying your hair. Just applying a ton of heat to it for an extended period, because you've got to blow dry it over and over and over to get it dry. You're not going to need to be doing that if you get a good dryer. So yes, I would certainly recommend it, and I think 130 quid, yes, it's a little expensive, but yes, there's a market for it, and if you're in that market, then you don't need to look any further, really. That's what I'll say about that. So, having said all that, things have slightly changed. So, like these days, I sort of went through a lot of this in my last Parlux review, but since then, you've had the Dyson Supersonics come out. Now, that is over double the price of a Parlux, and for that price, it's ridiculous. Now, they've already had to kind of remodel it, as they've released a new version. Well, I don't know if they've released it yet, but they're releasing the new version, the Dyson Supersonic Professional, basically because the old one wasn't cutting it, and that professional version is going to be an extra. I mean, I've heard there's no price for it, but I've heard sort of rumblings that it's going to be about another 50 quid on top of what the old version is. That makes it almost like 3 times the price of a traditional dryer, which is absurd. And it's say you don't get gimmicks with Parlux, but what you do get is a good dryer. That's probably what I'll say on that, and I'll probably leave that there. Say, yes, I'm a Parlux fanboy for sure. Like, say, when I was talking about the GHD, you tend to get people that say, I love GHD, and they swear by them, and that's fine. I use GHD sort of products as well, just don't use the hairdryer. And so, yeah, I am kind of a Parlux fanboy when it comes to dryers, but there's a reason for that. I've used them my whole career, and there's a reason for that. I mean, if you look at this dryer, there's nothing flashy about it. There's no bling. It's not gimmicky. It's just a dryer. And you could say, hey, you're making a whole video about a hairdryer. What can you say about it? Well, you've got a point. Yeah, it's just a hairdryer. And that kind of says it all, really. It's just a hairdryer, but I've used them all my career, and there's a reason for that. And it's because it does a damn good job of what it's trying to do. Not do anything else. It's not it doesn't have an LCD display on the side to tell you just how hot it is inside, or it hasn't got a big hole in the middle and it looks like it's made out of old Coke cans. It's just a dryer, and it'll do what you want. So in conclusion, I'm going to say that it's just a dryer, but it will do what you want, and it will do it remarkably well. If you're looking for a dryer and you're looking in that price range of like sort of 100, 120 quid, then I would say go nuts. If you're looking to upgrade, I would say go for it. In my old Parlux Advanced review, I actually said don't bother. Like, if you've got a 385, probably don't want to upgrade to the Advanced because it's not that big of a leap. I'm going to say in this one, if you've got an Advanced, plug it on, get an Alyon. I think they're better. I think they're better in all ways. I think they're more ergonomic. I think they're more comfortable to use. So I would always sort of So now I do think it's a significant upgrade. If you've got an advanced and you're looking to upgrade, go for it. If you haven't got a Parlux or you've got an older model Parlux, you don't even think twice. Just upgrade. Why not? Get the latest and greatest, and it really is the latest and greatest. So in conclusion, I think it's a fantastic dryer. Really happy with it. So I've spent 5 days with it. It will now become my main dryer. I'll use it every day, and yeah, I'll be happy to do so. So yeah, that's pretty much the review. That's what I think. Hope it helps. If you have any other questions, just let me know. Chuck it, a comment. If you want to ask anything about this dryer specifically, or any tools, or any other dryers even, just ask me questions. I use Parlux my whole career, and I use my dryer every day, but there are times when I borrow other people's dryers, and so I have quite a good grasp over a bunch of different ones. If you want to ask any questions, knock yourself out, chuck it in the comments, and I'll always do my best to reply. Yeah, thanks very much for watching. Hope it helps. Happy shopping. Knock yourself out, buy a Parlux. It's really good. Cheers. See ya.